How can human beings in the span of a couple of decades completely destroy their way of life? Honest question. But this is...
Well, it took longer than a couple decades.
Maybe 100 years.
You could probably go back to the 1800s and some of the liberal values. They flowered in the 1960s, but the process was underway long before then, particularly in the 1950s. Like the Kinsey Report was a huge deal that we don't hear about today.
Right. What I mean is, even if you go back to the 1800s, people were still largely agrarian. We were coming to the point of industrialization. And it is true. This is where things started to change. Technology started to come into place. Industry started to grow. But that's so either way, within the span of a handful of generations, the way of life for humans, wherever you were from, was largely similar. The life you lived was the same life your grandfather or grandmother lived. Now you're in a city by yourself. Your parents are thousands of miles away or wherever. You met a person for the first time. Within a few months, you're like, hey, this is going pretty good. Maybe we should get married. But you don't actually know each other. You've not experienced life together. This is, within the span of a very short amount of time relative to human civilization, a complete inversion. I don't think it's possible for humans to make that work.
Well, and just to kind of rephrase what you were saying before, the scenario that you gave, the problem is that we're dating strangers. Like, we don't know anybody. And what you were talking about as far as families coming together, they already know each other. That's called social proofing, right? So we increase the likeliness that relationships are going to work out because we know someone who knows the person that we're trying to date. We have some sort of social proofing as far as safety, as far as interest. The list goes on. All these different qualities that go beyond, are they attractive? Do they seem nice? Right? Because anybody can seem nice the first time you meet them.
That's right.
So we're missing that element. We're also having a world that is actually, it's a big world, but it's small now, because I could say, you know what, I'm dating a woman that's in Germany, and I can get on a plane and pretend like I'm dating her. And when I'm not there, we can chat and we can FaceTime. We can do all that stuff. The world seems a lot smaller. We don't work in our towns anymore. We have to, I live in New Jersey. Most of the people I know work 20 minutes, and that's close, or longer. 45 minutes is not abnormal. So we're away from our communities. We have less community. I live in a building with a bunch of people. I don't know their names.
That's
you know?
Crazy.
So it's just, I know their faces. I don't know their names. We say hi and bye. That's about it. So our society's become more technologically advanced, but we're more distant in communication and actual human relationships.
That's right.
I assume both of you are married?
I'm married.
I just got engaged a week ago.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm curious if your significant others are from the same place as you, or from somewhere far away from you.
So my wife, I've mostly lived in New Jersey. So my wife is from Brooklyn.
That's
relatively.
North Jersey?
Yeah.
Okay, it's basically the same thing.
Yeah, it's close enough. But once again, social proofing. I knew her brother, and that's how we started talking as far as friends go. But she felt comfortable talking to me because her brother knows me. She can go to her brother. Is he a good guy? That kind of thing. So she felt comfortable, and our friendship turned into a relationship.
The reason I ask is because, as I was saying about, growing up together, I hear from a lot of guys, they'll be like, it's so hard to date. And, I think the reality is it's not as difficult if you are hanging out with, if you have friends who are from similar areas. Not to say that it's impossible. Like, obviously, there's tons of successful marriages from people who met in college. Nothing's impossible. It's just easier.
Right.
And I think one of the biggest challenges for young men is that they're isolated on the internet. Mm-hmm. They're not going outside.
Yep.
There's nothing to do outside. There are tons of things to do outside, but there's no social incentive anymore. Like you were mentioning, we don't know our neighbors. Where's the Little League game? Where's the town football match or whatever, the high school football game? Everybody's there no matter what, like whatever. And I'm talking about, 100 years ago, or not 100, but like 80 years ago. It used to be the community got together and did things.
Right.
That's what church was 100, 200 years ago. Every week, everybody was there. How could you not be there?
That's right.
There's nothing else you should be doing but coming together.
Yeah, don't not be there.
Right. Now, nobody's anywhere. And if you're just sitting online, it will be impossible for you to build interests. Not impossible, but like very difficult. I mean, certainly there are some people who are going to be like, we met over World of Warcraft. I know some people that happened for them, and they have a shared passion and interest in that, and they're from two different places, but they grew up in a way where they found that. So it does happen. But it's going to be increasingly difficult when you have an isolated personal world based on how you curate your internet experience to then relate with somebody else.
That's a really good observation, that we do self-select into little silos of mutual interest when that may not necessarily be good for us. I think there's another problem with dating, and that's the lack of, we'll say, leverage. So it used to be that marriage was celebrated as normative, it's godly, it's a blessing. Now marriage is considered oppressive, and so there isn't as much of a societal incentive for people to marry. In fact, people kind of try to avoid it. And so you end up in situations where both men and women, for different reasons, can delay getting married and can say, oh, I haven't met the right person yet. Like, no, you met the right person 6 months ago, but you kind of flaked out on it. Both men and women do this because there's no leverage. There's always endless optionality.
You know what I think this is? I think it's media. You get mass media through radio and TV, and they tell you great stories of beautiful people. And so for both men and women, and I think this is much more likely to affect women, they see the men around them in their communities, and these are good, normal, hardworking, working class guys. And then they see on the TV Brad Pitt, and they're told that there are better men than this. All of a sudden, their view of what is a 10 and what is a 1 skews in a ridiculous way, where the 10 is going to be the multimillionaire playboy philanthropist, and the working class guy is a 4. Hey, you know, he's a good looking dude or whatever, but what, he makes $40K a year and he works in a mechanic shop or something like that? No. The real opportunity is out there somewhere else. So instead of finding your community member and neighbor who's of a similar situation to you, people will look for their fictional other. For guys, now what are we seeing? You know, I can sit here and say, oh, women want the celebrity man or whatever. Sure, but guys are getting robots. Yeah, it's creepy.
Yeah.
They're using AI apps, and they're going to start buying androids. They're going to be like, this is easy.
Yeah.
And I worry too with the AI advent, which I talk about quite a bit. People are going to plug their brains into the computer and be like, I don't need anyone.
Well, in that example, you're talking about this idea that men are just for to be pay pigs within a relationship. And his value is basically only what he can provide financially. And the detrimental part about that viewpoint is that, well, what if he becomes the father of your child and you still have that mentality? So then the father becomes optional. So it's already bad enough that you think men are optional, but now you think fathers are optional. So if he loses his job, he is of no value, right? And if you can work and make more than him, then what is he there for? Because he must not provide any sort of value to this child, right? So I think it's this complete reduction as far as what men are for, but also what fathers are for, and how much benefit we have for our kids. And I think in my circumstance, I really saw how it affected me not having my father, but even more so when I became a father to my son's 19 now. When I became a father, and as he got older, I saw how much farther my son was versus when I was his age, because he could always go to me. You know, when he would mess up, I'll be like, it's okay, right? I didn't have that. My mom, you know, I love my mom, but she was busy. She was working. And on top of that, I didn't have a man to relate to kind of give me like, not to cry with me, but to be like, get up, you'll be fine. It's okay. Everyone makes mistakes. I've made that mistake. So having that element missing, like there's so much male compassion that's missing from families, only because, well, he doesn't make enough. What is he here for? He's a headache, right? There's no willingness to have that man around because he's optional.
You know, there's a men and women are different. You know, I know it's shocking news to liberals. They're surprised by this. I think everyone's a blank slate.
Breaking news.
But the mentalities and the hormone drives of men and women are very, very different. I feel like technology is going to cater to those hormonal desires and split men and women into different areas where they'll probably just isolate.
Yeah. I think there's very little societal incentive for marriage and family. And that's why this Trump baby bonus now, I think it was Joel Berry from the Babylon Bee who said he would like that better. And I agree with him. If it were incentivizing married women to have children instead of single women, I think that would be much, much better than just incentivizing the childbirth. But I think once you start re-incentivizing, re-glorifying and re-honoring the marriage bond and the family and the home, you'll see a much bigger shift.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Culture War podcast. We're live every Friday, 10 a.m. to noon, so subscribe and come hang out.